today we're going to be answering the question, can you make good money on Upwork? And Morgan, what's your answer?
Yes.
All right,
Roll
and we're
credits.
done.
Oh, wait, no, they wanted more? Okay, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, okay. All right, so Morgan, today more specifically, we're going to talk about how you made good money on Upwork. So Morgan, how much money did you make?
I've made $600,000 on Upwork.
Woo!
In 5 years. Basically, I average about a little over $100,000 every year, essentially. So I kind of want to start today, guys, by soapboxing a little bit. I hope not to make this a reoccurring thing where I start every video with a soapbox because I do have a quick bone to pick before we get into anything. And real quick, I always forget to introduce myself. I'm Morgan Overholt. I run Morgan B LLC, a small graphic design agency. I'm also an Upwork freelancer. I'm also a blogger and a content creator. And this is Elena O'Neill. She is what we like to call the mix on the Morgan Overholt mix. She's my right-hand woman.
Yeah, I'm the mix. Sometimes I'm a little bit more behind the scenes than Morgan, but I started freelancing with her as a subcontractor, and we have since then partnered on a few other ventures together.
Yep. All right, so here's my bone to pick, y'all. So on YouTube for years, I always see all these people post videos like, I tried Upwork for 24 hours and here's what happened. Like, I tried Upwork for 3 days and this is what happened. And then they try to give you this, what they feel is a comprehensive overview of whether or not the platform works, right? Y'all, that would basically be like me making a video. I tried brain surgery for 3 days and here's what happened. I mean, yeah, you're not going to get a lot of progress in like 3 days. Like I said, the start of this, I've been on Upwork since 2017. So this is being filmed in 2022. That's 5 years, and it took me a while to get rolling as well, even in 2017 in the early days. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but I just wanted to say, and maybe one day we'll make a parody video of it. Like, I tried Upwork for 5 years and this is what happened, or maybe I'll go the opposite direction, say, I tried Upwork for 30 seconds and this is what happened, because I always kind of hate those videos. This is not what this video is not what that's going to be. This is going to be by somebody who's actually taken the time to really study the platform, is intimately familiar with it, knows how to be successful on the platform. And I'm going to be talking about the tips and tricks that helped me get there.
Yeah, I think anytime you try something for only 24 hours or 3 days for that matter, you have to actually stick with it and give it some time. I mean, gosh, can you imagine when we started our travel blog, can you imagine if we just tried it for 3 days and said, well, not getting any traffic,
I guess I'll give up, or going to the gym for 3 days, be like, man, where are my abs? I've been here for 3 days.
Where's the six pack? This is such a ripoff. I'm getting a refund.
Doesn't work.
Firing that personal trainer.
Right. That's what people do on Upwork. It drives me nutty. Okay, so we're going to be talking about 10 different tips today. These are some of my hot tips. A lot of these specific tips we've made complete videos about that are elsewhere on the channel. Like, we're going to be talking about how to write proposals and how to fill out your profile. We're not going to go in depth into any one of those particular topics. This is more of kind of like an overview. If you do want to hear more about specific topics mentioned, make sure to poke around on the channel or check out my blog, which is www.morganoverholt, spelled exactly like my name.com. That's not the domain spelled exactly like my name. It is www.morganoverholt.com. And that domain is spelled exactly like my name, more specifically.
That would be such a long URL.
Right. And of course, we'll also, what we're referring to here in this video today is a full-length blog article that I do have posted on my blog about how you can earn good money. So if you do want to refer back to that or just look at it as you follow along, the link will be in the description below.
So your first tip here is fill out your profile completely, no skipping. This is something that we have touched on before, that we have an entire video about how to have a robust profile and tips that you could do that. So make sure you poke around and find that video. And this one kind of seems obvious, but Morgan, you've mentioned you see newbies on the platform all the time that, they have almost an empty portfolio and they apply for jobs and they say, why am I not getting jobs? It's because they don't have this portfolio completely filled out. Yeah. So you want to make sure that you actually fill that out completely, have a lot of portfolio work. And yeah, no skimping on that. That's step number one. What are your thoughts, Morgan?
Yeah, I mean, I often also use Upwork to hire people. So I've literally taken a walk in my client's shoes, which is really important because it was so eye-opening. Like the first time I used Upwork as a client, I was overwhelmed by the fact that people did not have profiles that were filled out well or lacked portfolio items. I mean, what, especially as a graphic designer, or when you're hiring somebody in like more of a visual field, to get an application where they have either none or just 2 or 3 portfolio pieces, it tells me almost nothing about that person's
Mhm.
capability. So this is a really big one, and it's such an easy way to stand out. And Upwork recommends it. I recommend it. So just make sure that you've touched on every little nook and cranny in the Upwork profile. I can't talk. And filled it out to completion, and make sure your portfolio is so robust. Like for instance, my portfolio has like 30 plus items in it. Any service I offer, I have at least 2 or 3 examples of that service. So, and I think that's really been crucial to helping me win jobs. So number 2, we're going to be talking about the importance of having a website or an external portfolio. Okay, so this one is more for you to link to in your proposals. You're not supposed to put any kind of a website or a link up in your profile. You are also not supposed to put any kind of a link or website anywhere in your proposals if it contains a link to a contact form or any other way to contact you, like an email address or something like that, right? Because Upwork doesn't want you speaking directly to clients off platform in the proposal phase. So what I recommend is basically building essentially a landing page, right? Like build a landing page off site, whether you can use Behance and just not include any contact information, or just, put something up in your own website, as long as it doesn't have that link or a way to contact you. Or maybe if you want to include something like that, instead of having an outside contact form, include a link back to your Upwork profile. That might be helpful, kind of creating that like loop or funnel, if you will. But I think it's really important because I find the Upwork portfolio to some, especially new clients, to be a tad clunky. It's a little clunky. And I find the attachments that you have to include on your proposals to be extra clunky. Like they are super not mobile friendly. I've tried to look at people's attachments when they apply for jobs on my mobile phone, and it's just awful. Like it's trying to like pop up in different browsers, and like I lose the proposal, and it's just very, very, very clunky and annoying. Versus if I had something easy to click on and mobile friendly, that would be so much better. So I do recommend that. And again, you can't use that on your profile. You can only use it in your proposals, and if it does not contain a link to a contact form or a email address.
Lots of disclaimers there. So tip number 3, apply for multiple jobs every single day. So this kind of is what we talked about in the beginning. You can't just go there and try it for 3 days and give up. It could probably realistically going to take you about at least 2 weeks, if you're lucky, maybe, to get one job. And it won't be probably a very exciting job. So just kind of be prepared for that. You're going to have to apply for multiple jobs every single day, probably over the course of 2 or 3 weeks, to hopefully get a nibble. And Morgan, this is something I know that you did. You said your first job on Upwork was like a $10 vector job, tweak to something that took you maybe 5 minutes, but it was able to get you that first 5-star review on the board. I think my first Upwork job was very similar. I think you actually helped me find it. You scoped it out because you were kind of already established on the platform, and you found some like little PDF, quick fix job. And you said, hey, apply for this, get your first review, get it on the board. And sure enough, I applied, got the job, took me 5 minutes, made maybe $5, but it got that first review. And it's going to take a couple weeks just to get that first tiny little job. But the first one is the hardest. So just keep that in mind. Don't give up. It's going to take you a little bit of time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it took me, like, I was applying for about 2 or 3 jobs pretty much every single day when I was on Upwork in the early days, with 0 reviews on my profile, and a virtual tumbleweed rolling across it. And yeah, it took a full 2 weeks pretty much to get my first gig, and it was like $10. I mean, I didn't. The thing is, the important thing is, kind of like Elena said, it's not about how much money you make on that first job. It's about whether or not you can complete it fairly quickly so that you're not, wasting too much time on it, and whether or not you can get an easy 5-star review. That for me, it was just the easiest thing to do, right? Like I've heard of people landing a humongous job right off the bat, and that's great for them. But that I think is a bigger risk. I think it's a little bit easier to take on like a small gig that you can just finish in 5 minutes. And I see that kind of stuff all the time. Like those are perfect because you can just be like, oh, sweet, you need a photo cropped? Yes, I'm online right now. Let me do this for you. All it is a 5-star review. I'm super, whatever. I'm super eager. So I think those jobs are kind of what you should be on the lookout for. But again, that wasn't all I was applying for back in the day. I was applying for all sorts of stuff, and that's just kind of what hit. But just keep that in mind. It's going to probably take like 2 or 3 weeks. And from what I've heard talking to other people, they kind of report the same experience. And that's with actively applying every stinking day. And also a bonus tip on this one, don't forget at the end of that job, at the end of any job, whatever stage you are in the Upwork process, always ask for a 5-star review, like verbally ask for it. So many people are just like, okay, cool. Thank you so much. And they close up the contract and they think, will my client leave me a good review? I hope so. No, you have to specifically tell that client, hey, look, 5-star reviews are so important to my ability to win jobs in this platform. Would you make sure to do that when you close the contract? And even better, if you can get the client to close the contract out on their end, that's more ideal because they are automatically sent to a closing contract page, which includes the review, which ups your chances of actually getting one. So just kind of extra little tip there. Number 4 is actually very similar to what we just talked about. It's don't be picky, at least in the beginning. Again, I don't think we need to dive too far into this, but I always encourage people to treat that first job that you get as a marketing expense. I used to complain to my husband. I'm like, why would I take on a $10 job? It's like, whatever. And he said, yeah, but how much would you pay me right now to get your first 5-star review on the platform? And I thought, wow, I would pay good money for that. He's like, so if someone's offering to give you $10, why don't you just take the $10 and a 5-star review? So just think of it more as a marketing expense. Again, the first job is the hardest. So just try not to be too picky with it. Okay.
Tip number 5, learn how to write a proposal that sells. Once again, we have dived into this in more detail in other videos, but just kind of a quick overview on how to write that winning proposal. So some tips that you list here, that components that you really want to have. You want to list your professional qualifications and related experience, acknowledgement of the job requirements, a unique selling point about what makes you right for the job, related portfolio samples, a link to your website for more information that does not include a contact form, as Morgan mentioned previously, and finally, a call to action. For example, reach out to me today and we can discuss details. This, in my mind, this kind of goes, ask for what you want. So when you want that review, ask for it. When you want them to contact you, ask for it. Make sure that you end on something that they are clear of what you want them to do next.
Again, Elena and I actually recorded a whole full-length YouTube video about specifically how to write great proposals. And in that video, I also included a real template that I use personally to write and send proposals that you guys can also kind of use as inspiration. So make sure that you go find that video. And again, we've got that linked up on the website too, because I know some of that stuff can be confusing, right? Like your professional qualifications and related experience, or exactly how to make a great call to action. Those are the things that we really dive into in the other videos. So do check it out. And then number 6, we've got quit worrying about fees and start worrying about ROI. Sorry, I get more Southern when
I know your Southern came out on that one. I guess you feel passionately about this.
I know. Yeah. For those of y'all who don't have a Southern friend, you tend to get more Southern when you're angry, when you're passionate. You're trying to get the point across, your Southern mama voice comes out, We got to quit worrying about fees and start worrying about your dang ROI, because here's the thing. Everybody's always complaining to me about how, I can't make any money on Upwork because they take out 20%. Or they'll say something like, well, you've probably paid to make $500,000 or $600,000. You've probably paid Upwork, 60 grand or 70 grand in fees. And that's crazy. But here's the thing, guys, like all businesses have a certain number of expenses. Even the clients that I work with offsite, because I also have a whole list of clientele that were never Upwork clients to begin with. Upwork is just a portion of my freelance income and a portion of my income overall. I have daily expenses. Like I have to pay Rocket Lawyer for contracts. I have to pay Fiverr Workspace for invoicing. I have to pay a virtual assistant to help me out with the invoicing and log my time. I mean, I have a whole litany of services that are costing me money. And the other thing I also want you all to think about is the fact that Upwork sort of serves sort of as like almost a recruiting agency. It's the most similar way I could kind of describe it. It's not really a recruiting agency, but it's kind of in that world, I would say. And recruiting agencies routinely charge 30%. 30%. You just don't realize it because
Mhm.
they give the client one price and they give you one price and they're just sitting there collecting 30%. And that 30%, unlike the 20% on Upwork, goes away, or the 30% never goes away. And the Upwork 20% does go away. So Upwork, I feel like it's a very, very fair fee. And to be specific about the Upwork's fee going away, because I need to touch on that really quickly too, is that the 20% Upwork fee only applies to the first $500 you earn per client on the platform. Okay. So that's really nothing. So basically your first 500, you're going to be giving, $100 back to Upwork. After that, it immediately drops to 10%. And after the $10,000 mark, which sounds crazy, but it happens all the time with long-term contracts, is going to drop down to just 5%. I think that might vary slightly with enterprise clients, but I'm speaking in general here. So, in fact, most of my contracts, I think right now are about averaging 8% ish across the board. Cause I have a lot of 10 percenters and I have a lot of 5%ers. I don't have a lot of 20 percenters. Most of my contracts now I've been with for a while. So just keep that in mind. The fee is really not a big deal. Think about
Mhm.
ROI. Think about any other business like a restaurant. Think about a restaurant owner. If you told them that they could make a 90% ROI or a 90% margin on everything they do, they'd be like, what? That's an incredible margin for retail, for restaurants, for any other business. As you continue to grow on Upwork, like your expenses are like, you don't even think about them after a while, all right? You're only going to think about it at first. After a while, they're nothing in the grand scheme of things.
Well, like you said, everything has a fee. If you have a traditional job, you're gonna have to have transportation. You're gonna have to put gas in your car or pay for a bus ticket or whatever.
Mhm.
Even if you work at fast food, like when I worked, back in like a fast food company back in the day, I had to pay for non-slip shoes. I had to pay for my outfit. Like you just have to pay for things. In my mind, it's just par for the course. Tip number 7, treat your clients like gold. Morgan, you and I have joked a lot that part of what we do is it's like 50% graphic design, 50% customer service. And
Or
I think it's
therapy.
sometimes therapy. It's so true. But it's not only like really about, graphic design sometimes, which is what we do, but I think you could apply for this or apply this to just about any field that you're in. So make sure that you're responsive, make sure that you reply to any messages within at least 24 hours. Um, Pay attention to detail. If we spot typos and, but like run spell check, spot typos, let them know like, hey, I fixed this typo for you. Recommend that they proof it themselves. But, if you just kind of go above and beyond just that little bit, that goes such a long way. And our clients, they'll ask us to do something that's a little, maybe not specific to graphic design sometimes. Like, gosh, it's hard to think of an example. But if any like little requests, like, oh, how do I do this or how do I do that? Like, just answer the question, and a little bit goes a long way. So just
Oh
treat your
no.
clients well, and they'll give you good reviews, and they'll take care of you as well. It's a mutually beneficial relationship.
Well, you and I both have examples of that. Even just this week, I was asked to design a label for, a cleaning product. And they were like, we don't know what copy we want on here. We don't know what text we want. You tell us what you think we should put on there. And then we'll just kind of go from there. And I think a lot of people would kind of shy away from that. But I mean, I know these clients really well, and they do want somebody to kind of give them that first bit of inspiration. And look, I don't mind to do that. I just include that in my pricing and I'm taken care of. And the client also feels taken care of. They like that we can do that. Elena has been given full on like multi-page reports before like from the client and been asked to pare it down to one flyer. They'll be like, hey, can you take all this information? And then I want you to tell me what you think belongs into a flyer. And she's kind of done that too. Again, we charge appropriately. Don't include that. Don't price that like you would any other flyer or any other spray bottle or whatever.
Mhm.
But just think about that. We go above and beyond. Another thing that we do is we try to, if we see a phone number, I don't do this every single time, but if I do see a phone number on like a flyer or something, and I think about it, I try to call the number, or I try to test out the website. I try to click on URLs. I try to make sure all of that works, because we've seen in the early days, our clients have something designed and printed, and we use the phone number they gave us, and the phone number was wrong. By pointing that kind of stuff out and like us just going the extra mile, our clients feel so taken care of. Another thing I've always done is that we don't really nickel and dime our clients either. I just kind of give them that one price tag, or we charge hourly depending on the project. And we give them a whole entire use of our Adobe stock subscription. So we don't say, okay, and it's going to be $2 for this picture and $2 for this picture and blah, blah, blah. No, we'll just go pick it out ourselves if that's what they want us to do, or we send them the link and they can pick out pictures, but they have, the benefit of being able to use those services because I subscribe to them. So yeah, just kind of, keep that in mind, guys. Think about how to kind of go a little bit above and beyond. That's why we like to call ourselves concierge level graphic designers and concierge level freelancers, because we do those extra little helpful things that I think just sets us apart from the rest.
Mhm. And as a disclaimer, you might want to let your client know, hey, if I do this part for you, it will cost you, a little bit extra if they're budget conscious. You do kind of want to get to know your client a little bit. I would say just, but if you know your client, if you have that relationship with them, typically that works out well for us, and our clients sometimes prefer it that way because sometimes they don't really quite know where to start. So we joke that, sometimes it's almost like you just get the ball rolling, and, just kind of give them like a little nudge and say, what
Yeah.
about this? And, at least gives you like a starting point, and then they can kind of say, actually, let's go in this direction. But, sometimes your clients don't even know where to start, and you can kind of be there to say, hey, like, this is my experience and this is my professional recommendation. And does that sound good? And just go from there. But, sometimes it involves a little bit of going above and beyond.
And we said before that we try to proofread for our clients, but I also want to say we always tell them, make sure you proofread yourself. I never want to be the last stop on that or blamed if something is missed. So in fact, even in every single one of my email signature even says, please proof all materials. So I don't fall on that sword, but I do try to be just an extra pair of eyes for my client, if you will.
Mhm.
Number 8, play by the rules. People love to break the rules and then complain about when their accounts are shut down, guys, or suspended. They're like, I have no idea why I was suspended from Upwork. And usually it's things like encouraging them to contact you offsite, doing free work, knowingly taking your clients offsite, those kinds of things. I'm a real big believer of not batting the hand that feeds. And while it might seem tempting to you early on to take a client offsite because you don't have to pay that like 20 or 10% fee, and you're like, is it really worth? I want you to think about whether or not it's really worth never being on Upwork again, because I've seen people permanently banned from this platform. So that like $500 that you save long term, is it worth the potentially $500,000, $600,000 that you could make in the long run? I don't think so in most cases. So I really just encourage you all to play by the rules and don't bite the hand that feeds when it comes to Upwork. Make sure you're intimately familiar with the Upwork terms of service. And I always suggest you look at the latest, because by the time you're watching this video, it could be in the future. It could be like 2037 and you're watching this video. And I don't want you to say that what I said were the terms of service today will be the terms of service in the future. Okay. So make sure that you've got like the latest update on that.
Number 9, focus on growth, scale, and long-term contracts. So after you get that first job or that first little nibble, that first 5-star review, then you can really kind of start looking at long-term relationships. So a lot of, and just, this is one of those that you just pay attention to the job listing. If they say they're looking for a long-term relationship, those are the real things that you want to try to look for, because then, you can kind of stop chasing your tail, so to speak. You can actually just focus on one job. You can spend more time working and making money and less time actually searching for jobs. And that's going to be your real ticket to growth.
You want to cut that out. That's the most time intensive part of being on Upwork is those early days, because you're just spending all of your time applying, and half the time you're just being ignored. It's really frustrating. So long term, what you want to do, and paying 20% fees on virtually every new contract, right? So long term, what you really want to do is start focusing on long-term contracts and people that will send you ongoing work, because it does two things. Like Elena said, it cuts down on applying time. So that naturally raises your ROI because you're making better use of your time. It also cuts that Upwork fee down to 10% after the first 500, and then 5% after the first 10,000 on that one client. So yeah, that's definitely kind of like the secret sauce in making Upwork work. In fact, most pro Upworkers today, people who have been on there for years and have earned over 100, over six figures in the platform, most of us, we don't apply for stuff on the newsfeed anymore. I mean, I haven't applied for jobs in literally years. New work comes to me via invite all the time. It doesn't even take any connects, by the way, to reply to an invite. So my connects are like overflowing. I wish there was a way for me to like resell connects to somebody that needs them, donate them or something, but because I just don't use them at all.
Yeah.
A connects donation program. I like that. But honestly, it's that, yeah. So that's kind of the name of the game. You want to just get to where you're not applying and people are coming to you and your fees are less. And also the more like you get to know your clients too, and then you develop that trust relationship, which is so very important. And then naturally, I think it goes without saying, your income becomes more steady and predictable as well with long-term contracts, because you kind of know what to expect. Less panic moments from your clients, and they know and trust you. They won't be emailing you in the middle of the night, be like, "Where's the project? Are we still on target? Just checking in." You'll get less of that with people who you've been working with for years, and they know you're good for it.
It won't go away completely, probably, but less of it.
Just checking in. I hate those words. All right. And then finally, last but not least, adopt a failure is not an option mindset. This could probably, again, go without saying, but if you're going into this, guys, if you're starting out on Upwork and you've read all the horror stories online about all the bad things that could happen to you and all the people who tried Upwork for 3 days and say it didn't work, you're probably going to fail. Now, if you go into it, like, after listening to this video, or go into it having listened to anybody who's been successful on Upwork, and a quick Google search, type in 6-figure Upwork freelancers, pulls up a whole bunch of us. I'm not alone out there. If you go into it with a success mindset, then you're so much more likely to succeed. And honestly, that's true for pretty much anything in life,
I mean, yeah, pretty much, not to say that you'll never fail ever. But, I think it just takes a lot of time and a lot of commitment, and maybe in some cases, I don't know if we're still talking about Upwork here, but it may not always pay off exactly like you think it will. But yeah, I think anytime you work hard, I think it will have some benefit. And it'll be a learning experience, but I think just about anybody can succeed on the platform, as long as they don't give up too quickly, as long as they do the right things, they check the right boxes, they work on themselves, they work on their portfolios. I think you can pull it off. So just have that mindset going in.
Yep. Agreed. All right. So guys, I think that kind of concludes today's video. We're finally figuring out how to do these in less than 30 minutes. I think this was less than 30 minutes, or about 30 minutes. It wasn't 45.
So.
Yay!
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, guys. So make sure that you tune in next week as well. And also poke around on this channel to find previous videos. Also, you can follow me on social media at Morgan O Media. And that's on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the big ones. And again, my blog is morganoverholt.com, where I post a bunch of full-length articles and all these topics that we talk about on the YouTube channel. I also have digital downloads on there that you'll want to check out that are totally free. So you're going to love those too. And then we, of course, publish new videos here on this channel every Thursday at 8:15 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure that you like and subscribe and come back, and YouTube will let you know when you got a new video.
Yay. All right. Bye. So each cover letter that you write, you want to make sure that you have certain components.
There was spit in my microphone. So it was driving me crazy. I spit on it. So, go ahead, start over.